pause in the meantime on questions and super chats, but you can still send them in. We will read them after we get closer to liftoff here. We are now also getting word, as is again.
Will you turn up the volume, Nina, for the fans?
Liquid oxygen.
That's better.
And that also is indicated by the fact that the vehicle is
Nina does not need to stay up all night, but I will stay up till 12:45.
Actually, I do. I've got
because it's gonna be like nearly 20 minutes for the video. Our next launch will be a Falcon Heavy after this.
Oh!
Sorry.
We're back with another Falcon 9 launch on the Moon channel with Nathan here. This is
I mean, you know, it's tempo. We need the pollution.
INTELSAT 40E.
Pollution's a joke, guys. Pollution's no joke. No.
Correct. We also don't want to pollute the chat.
Are you ready for liftoff?
Anyway, serious presenter now mode is I'm being told to stop encouraging.
I
know I am.
Yeah. Nina is ready for liftoff.
The next big things that we will be keeping an eye and ear out for is the call out that Falcon 9 is in startup. That is when the onboard computers will take control of the count, and mostly the vehicle will have control all the way until liftoff.
I know we're in Lake Park, but we can still watch the launch.
Oh, also at the limit mark, the flight tank should all be pressurized to flight pressure. So that's what we're going to be keeping an eye out for in the next 90 seconds.
Yeah,
as we get closer to
so
lift.
we have like 90 seconds left to lift off.
Is complete. That is once again the nitrogen purging the lines.
Would Nina like to watch?
That films the second stage. So again, totally normal. It will stop before liftoff. And
Will
anyway,
Nina let me hold the iPad, please?
More inert.
Okay.
Coming up on T-minus 1 minute now until the launch of INTELSAT 40E and Tempo. We are standing by for the official word now that Falcon 9 is in startup. As soon as we get that, we'll pass that along to you. Alright, there we go. Confirmation Falcon 9 is in startup. Any second we should be getting the final go for launch.
There was a launch that would keep me up
we are now about
earlier than this. The Crew 6 would.
The launch factor has given
It launched at
the go for
12:34. This one's launching at 12:30.
So we are now 30 seconds away from liftoff. Everything proceeding as planned up to this point.
Here we go.
20 seconds.
Yep.
And again, we will be quiet once it lifts off, so that way you can all enjoy the amazing sound that we're expected to get. Reminder to keep an eye out for that green flash of T10 with the 9 engines right around 3 seconds.
4, 3,
4,
2,
3, there's the ignition. 2, 1, 0, and liftoff. As SpaceX increases its tempo, we get to learn more about how we are impacting our atmosphere. And it has cleared the 4 towers.
This is a satellite launch.
I will let the field microphones take
There
control
are
of the
no
audio
astronauts on board. Just like every launch, we will have milestones. On our next Falcon Heavy launch, the milestones will be even bigger.
What kind of milestones will we have?
We will have first stage landing, and I don't know the names of the other milestones. There are some like main engine cutoff. Those are the major ones that I know of. T plus 1 minute into flight. Yep. You can see the Falcon 9 first stage booster leaving the ground.
As planned, we should be approaching max Q right about now. That is the maximum dynamic pressure on the vehicle. I think you heard a little bit of sonic squeal as the sound reverberated off the VAB there, I think I heard. As we now have our tracking cameras. In addition to the handheld, we have our robotic tracking cameras.
I can't believe this is our first launch after a while on the Moon channel.
That is, I believe, our handheld track. I love as it gets to this part where you can see the individual 9 engines. It's not that the thrust itself is changing, it's just that the
only launch we have
and as
missed
a result, the exhaust plumes, which were very held tightly together, start to
The
spread
one
out.
that came right before the Cruise 6, the
Oh, that's
Terran
beautiful.
one, we would not be able to
The
do
next thing
that
that we're going to keep an
because
eye out for are events that
I
will happen
was
in pretty
thinking
quick
that one
succession.
would end up
So
delayed.
at 2.5 minutes into flight, about 30 seconds from now, we should have MECO, or main engine cutoff, at which point the two
That's one of the
stages will separate,
milestones.
and then the second stage will ignite in what's known as SES-1. Unlike Starlink, which is immediately followed by payload fairing, this one, the payload fairing, will deploy about 30 seconds after SES-1. Oh, look at that view. Sitting right
Falcon
for
9
MECO,
looks like our sun, doesn't it?
and
it does.
Check.
that's MECO, and that looked like stage separation there. Let's see.
It is stage
We
separation.
have MECO, we have stage separation, and SES-1, that is the ignition of the second or upper stage there, the Merlin vacuum engine. And at this point, the first stage is going to be doing its maneuver to basically orient itself and deploy its grid fins, as you can see on the left side of the screen there, ahead of its landing on the drone ship, a shortfall of gravitas. And again, we can still
Once
see
the
it with our
first
camera
stage
there on the
reaches
left,
0,
unbelievably.
it will land.
It's such a beautiful night out there. Wow. That's amazing. You guys still have that tracking.
Amazing oh, look at
Later,
that.
we will do a
There's
spaceflight
the
simulator
Casper or
copy of
jellyfish,
the
whatever we want
launch.
to call it. The effects
Oh,
in the
love it.
atmosphere.
Yes.
Oh, some of that is from the gas jet thrusters as well on the first stage, I
And
believe,
we
which is helping to
will
steer it
use
towards its landing.
the
And we should
video
have fairing
from this
separation as
launch
well.
for this spaceflight simulator one.
Oh my gosh, that is beautiful. And there we go. We have confirmation there of payload fairing jettison. Those will parachute down into the ocean, be picked up by Doug, and be used again on future flights. Oh, that view
This launch
never
looks
gets
a
old.
little like a
Look at this
movie
here.
theater,
I know.
doesn't it?
Yeah, we're lucky too with the,
Yes, it does.
the brightness of the moon and everything too. It's really picking it up tonight. That's awesome.
Because the wall
Yes,
is invisible.
And, typically the jellyfish
Making
is
it look
normally
like
around
a movie
sunrise or
theater.
sunset, but it's the way that the light, in this case, I guess from the full moon, is interacting with the particles in the upper atmosphere.
It's a moon jelly.
And the
Ooh.
fun, you know what?
It
I can't actually
really
even
looks
see
like
that from
the
our
screen
perspective
is
here on
really attached to the
US1.
wall because of that.
I can still visually see second stage going, but I did not get to see a jellyfish or a Casper.
Wow, yeah, that is the amazing auto track from our own Michael Baylor, taking care of that. And in case you're wondering, those streaks on the side, those are stars. It's just going so fast that the stars are actually streaking by. And there we go. Everything looking good so far. It looks like the first stage has just reached apogee. That's the highest point, which means it will now start coming down. It reached about 129 kilometers up. Well, it's all down from there, although controlled down as it works its way towards the drone ship.
The
Gosh,
first
those
stage
views are
is starting
gorgeous
to
on the little screen. I know I
land.
keep
It's
saying
getting
it, but
lower.
it
Never
just
gets old.
is.
Just never gets old.
By the way, also of note, besides that, we're getting word that the 8th flight of one of those two fairings, now that has separated, is now the second fairing have to fly 8 times. So, more records being set. Oh, man. One thing I can say for sure is people are not asking us to be up-tempo, but at least tempo is going up.
Wow, wow.
I know I am pretty tired.
The next major
But I
milestone
wanted
that we'll
to
be
do this
seeing
recording
in about
for
a
all
minute
of
from now, as
you.
I mentioned, is that first stage entry burn, which is 3 of the Merlin 1D engines reigniting. And
All
my
of
favorite
you
part
guys,
is that it
my
essentially
subscribers,
uses fire
are
to slow
super
itself
important
down.
to me.
So it will burn towards the earth, and as it goes through its own plume and everything, its speed will help decrease dramatically.
The
to
first stage
prepare
is
for
not
a
in
softer,
space
hopefully
anymore.
very gentle landing. And that burn should last approximately 25 seconds for this flight. In the meantime, that view of the second stage,
It is
everything
launching
appears
from
to be
the
proceeding
U.S.
as
Space
planned,
Force
as it is
Station.
now 16,500 kilometers per hour in speed and climbing. There we go, on the left side of your screen, you can see the entry burn. Again, that's lasting about 20 to 25 seconds or so. helping to slow it down.
This is the first stage. That is the second stage. For in case you
And
wanted to know.
everything looks good so far. You can see how quickly that speed dropped as well there. And it is going to pick up speed again, but it will have one more final landing burn, and it will also slow down as it gets into the thicker parts of the atmosphere. That's when those griffins come in, which besides always making me hungry for waffles, helps steer it once it gets into the atmosphere. And fun fact, that entry burn is part of the reason why the Falcon comes back as sooty as it does, because RP1 is refined kerosene. Kerosene is a carbon-based fuel. So as it burns, some of that carbon soot ends up on the rocket itself, and that's why you get boosters that keep getting sootier and sootier.
But they look so cool when they get sootier and sootier too.
They really do. And it's hard to say sootier, but yes.
I remember the first time I saw one, I was down in Kennedy. I was on a bus, actually, a tour bus, and we pulled up right next to one that was like being shuttled off somewhere, and I was like, why don't they just clean it off? Just hose it down. And now I'm like, oh, no, keep it on, it's so cool.
Exactly, and the weight that it adds is negligible.
Yeah.
So basically nothing. Alright, we should be coming up now on Miko, main engine cutoff, any second, which, unlike a Starlink, will actually happen before the landing. And there we go. That is SES-1, excuse me, not Miko. Seco. Second engine cutoff. Words. And if you look on the left side of the screen, you can see the landing. See those griffins steering as it should pop through the clouds. We should see the drone ship.
Looks like stage 1 landing will deploy.
There it is. Any second now the landing legs will deploy. There they go.
So amazing.
And
The first stage has landed.
touchdown.
Amazing.
The landing has successfully gone deployed.
To it as the booster is now successfully completed its fourth landing on the drone ship. This time, shortfall of gravitas. And we should be getting word as well for nominal orbital insertion for the upper stage as well, which will be in a bit of a coast period for a bit here. So while the first stage hangs out on the drone ship, the second stage has one more burn planned. That burn is planned for about 26 minutes after liftoff. And you can see there the satellites on top of the rocket. The INTELSAT satellite, which has tempo attached. You know we were talking about numbers, Alicia?
Yeah, I was just about to say, we just got word this is the 33rd landing on a shortfall of gravitas, and the 120th launch from Slick 40 at Cape Canaveral. And the 110th landing in a row since the last failure. Yikes. All right, thanks, Alejandro.
Alex coming in clutch in the back channel with those numbers. And as you mentioned earlier, this was the 184th overall landing and 143rd drone ship landing ever between all of the drone ships. Also, the 23rd Falcon 9 family launch this year, by the way. So,
Also the 175th launch overall from Pad 40.
and a partridge in a pear tree. Oh man, that sounded absolutely amazing on our stream here. And there's Dawson's favorite view, as I will say, the empty launch pad.
Actually,
We gotta say it every time.
since
We
we're
gotta
at
say
the
it every
launch
time.
pad, I
Yes,
will just
we've
say
got a few
bye-bye.
Things to support
Don't
that came
forget,
in
like
during
and
the launch that
subscribe,
we
or else
wanted
the
to
next
say thank you
generation
to.
Mars rover
Michael,
is going
thank
to
you,
whack you in the
saying
butt
really
8
appreciate
million
all the work and
times.
dedication to
Bye-bye.
reporting